Hey friends, how are you? Welcome back to Science Toppers channel. Last time we left our video here and now we are going to continue it. So let's start. It is connected from here. Yes. Can you imagine life on the earth in the absence of photosynthesis? In the absence of photosynthesis, no, there would not be any food. The survival of almost all living organisms directly or indirectly depends upon the food made by the plants. Besides, oxygen, which is essential for the survival of all organisms, is produced during photosynthesis. The plant the plant, with the help of stomata, take the air in, uses the carbon dioxide, and then leaves the oxygen and other gases from the stomata back. So, in the absence of photosynthesis, we can conclude that in the absence of photosynthesis, life would be impossible. We can conclude in two forms. First form, oxygen would not be there. Second form, food would not be there. Means photosynthesis is very essential process for our life. During photosynthesis, chlorophyll containing cells of leaves in the presence of sunlight use carbon dioxide and water to synthesize carbohydrates. Okay. In the process of photosynthesis, the leaves which are containing chlorophyll in them, they use carbon dioxide and water and other minerals in the presence of sunlight. Because the plant cannot store sunlight, so they have to do the process of photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight only. To synthesize carbohydrates, they synthesize carbohydrates mainly. The process can be represented in an equation. This is an important equation. Carbon dioxide CO2 plus water H2O is equal to sunlight upon chlorophyll. Sunlight upon chlorophyll, carbohydrate plus oxygen, carbohydrate plus O2. Okay. As you can see, these green color pigments are chlorophyll. These are guard cells and this is stoma. Stoma means the opening. This is whole stomata. This is stomatal opening where the opening is there and air goes inside. The cells which have surrounded it are known as guard cells. During the process, oxygen is released. The presence of starch in leaves indicates the occurrence of photosynthesis. Starch is also a carbohydrate. In the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is released. The presence of starch in leaves indicates the occurrence of photosynthesis. Means the starch, if there is starch in the leaves, means there is occurrence of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis occurs. So starch is also carbohydrate because plants produce carbohydrate only. Indicates the occurrence of photosynthesis. If there is starch, there is photosynthesis. If there would be no photosynthesis, starch would not have been there. So we can conclude that starch means photosynthesis. Take 2 activity 1.1. Take two potted plants of the same kind. Keep one in the dark for 72 hours and the other in sunlight. I have read this. Now I am going to explain this activity. You just have to do is take two plants, keep one in the dark or in a black box for 72 hours, means 4 days, and another in sunlight. After 4 days, perform iodine test on these leaves. If the starch, mostly you will get that the plant which is kept in the dark does not contain starch or contains very much less amount of starch, because from 3 to 4 days there is no photosynthesis occurrence in that uh, plant because sunlight is not there. And in the another one, sunlight is there, so they are doing photosynthesis continuously and you will get starch in it. Okay, now leave the pot which was earlier kept in the dark in the sunlight for 3 to 4 days. Now keep the pot which was kept in dark in uh, for 3 to 4 days, and now keep it in the sunlight. And after 3 to 4 days, again test it Now you will get that it has starch, because again the process of photosynthesis has been started. But I mind you that after 1 week or 2 weeks, the leaves are dried up. Chlorophyll doesn't, so that the chlorophyll goes away from them. Chlorophyll is dried. No chlorophyll is left. So the dried leaves cannot perform the photosynthesis. Now let's study further. Sometimes the leaves other than green also have chlorophyll, because there may be large amount of any other color like brown, red or other pigments. Maybe means they cover up the green color. So but there is green color also, green color is also there. So we can, how can we test that it has chlorophyll? We can do iodine test, so that we could come to know that there is starch or not. Okay, you have you seen algae? In Hindi it is known as kai. It is very slippery, yes. Ah. Can you guess why algae are green in color? Yes, it has chlorophyll in it, so it is green in color. Algae can prepare its own food. Synthesis of plant food other than carbohydrates. We have learned that plants prepare carbohydrates. Now we have learned that synthesis of plant food other than carbohydrates, not carbohydrates, but other. Here just learned that plants synthesize carbohydrates through the process of photosynthesis. Plants synthesize carbohydrates through the process of photosynthesis. We have learned this just now. Carbohydrates are made of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. You can write down these. Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen makes up the carbohydrates. These are used to synthesize other components of the food, and these three are also used to synthesize other components such as proteins and fats. But proteins are nitrogenous substances which contain nitrogen. So which contain nitrogen, but where do plants get nitrogen? The nitrogen is present very much amount air. 71% of the air is nitrogen, is made up of nitrogen, but it is the gaseous form. The plants cannot absorb nitrogen in this form. So a bacterium known as rhizobium. It is known as rhizobium. Isn't it written there? So let's go to it. No, it is not in detail, but a bacteria known as rhizobium so, converts the gaseous nitrogen into the usable form and then provides it to the plant. Okay. Other modes of nutrition in plants. There are some plants which do not have chlorophyll. We all know some plants which do not have chlorophyll. They cannot synthesize food. They cannot synthesize their own food. But we don't know that from where do they get food? From where do they survive? From where do they get nutrition? Like humans and animals, we learned that there are two modes of nutrition, autotrophic and heterotrophic. So, in heterotrophic, there are many parts. Let's see. So, they are also heterotrophic. Some plants are also heterotrophic. So, first, talk about parasites. In this page, it is not written parasites, but in next page, it is written. Okay. First, see this. See this figure. This one. What's this yellow? It's an plant called Cuscuta, or we say emerbel, and on which it is climbing. It has been climbed and it is taking nutrition from the organism on which it is climbing, and it is taking nutrition from that organism. Cuscuta means on which it is climbing, on the living organism on which it is climbing. It is known as host. So these types of plant emerbel are known as parasite. Let's go up. So it so happens the host gives him the nutrition. Why the host gives him his own nutrition? Because this helps him to make his food. As we know that a bacterium known as rhizobium converts the liquid nitrogen, so means gaseous nitrogen into liquid nitrogen and provides it to the plant. The plant in return provides him with food. So here also this MRBL, this uh, this plant, this living organism provides it with valuable nutrients, and this plant, this tree provides it with food. Parasite. Cuscuta is called the parasite. Okay. There are many types of parasites. We will learn about them. Have you seen or heard of plants that can eat animals? There are a few plants which can trap insects and digest them. Is it not amazing? Such plants may be green or some other color. Look at the plant in figure 1.6. See this? This is pitcher plant. It has a lid, and I will explain it to you. This is a lid, and when the insect comes inside it, why the insect comes inside it? Because it has a liquid, and when it tries to go to the liquid, that liquid, he is entangled in the hair present. They are so thin, the insect is not able to see that, and it is entangled. As soon as he is entangled, the lid is closed. The lid closes, and digestive juices are secreted. The insect digests inside the pitcher plant only, and then um, it is absorbed. Okay, this is the pitcher plant, and these types of plants are known as insectivorous plant. Okay, the same explanation is written here. Entangled into here, the lid closes and the insect is trapped. The insect is digested by the digestive juices. Okay, these type kinds of plants are known as insectivorous plants. Is it possible that such plants do not get all the required nutrients from the soil in which they grow? Yes, it is possible that sometimes they are green in color, but they don't get the nutrition which they want. So they convert themselves into the pitcher and or something else in which plants insects are interacted and eats them. These types of plants are can be called semi heterotrophic because they have green color also, they have chlorophyll also, they prepare their food also, and they eat the other organism also. You might have seen packets of mushrooms sold in the vegetable. What are saprotrophs? Let's learn about them. See this. We will understand it with a activity. This activity, first we will read this. You may have seen fluffy umbrella-like patches growing in moist soil or on rotting wood during the rainy season. Let us find out what type of nutrition they get to survive and from where they get them. You know saprotrophs? Saprotrophs are the organisms which take nutrition from the dead and decaying matter. Not from the living organism, they take nutrition from the dead and decaying matter. So here is a activity, I would explain it. You just have to do is take a piece of bread, moisten it, and keep it away for some time. And after 2 to 3 days, see it again. You will get this. I am going to zoom it. See this yellow. Okay, let's come here. Oh, this yellow. This is fungi. Okay, now let's go back to original size. So some organisms are called fungi. It is written fungi. On bread, you will get yellow patches. These are fungi, which they are dead means, and they are decaying because you are moistening it, so they are decaying. So fungi comes on it from the atmosphere and started eating it. Okay, it grows on leather also. Uh, This mode of nutrition in which organisms taking nutrition from dead and decaying matter is called saprotrophic nutrition. This mode of nutrition is known as saprotrophic nutrition. Fungi also grows on picker, leather, clothes and other articles that are left in hot and humid weather. In hot and humid weather, the things start to be decaying very fast. During the rainy season, they spoil many things. Ask your parents about the maintenance of fungi in your house. The fungal spores are generally present in the air. When the land own uh-oh. When the land own wet and warm things, they germinate and grow. Now can you figure out how can we protect our things from getting spoiled? Yes, you may not keep your things in the dry places. You must keep them safe. Some organisms live together and share both shelter and nutrition. This relationship is called symbiosis. The relationship between rhizobium and the plant is symbiosis because they exchange. Okay, they exchange the things each from each other and live a happy life. Must be. For example, certain fungi live inside the roots of plants. The plants provide nutrition to the fungus, and in turn, the fungus provides water and certain nutrition. It is like the same example. Here, fungi and their bacteria. Alright. Here's the example. Oh, rhizobium. We will read it. An organism called lichens, a chlorophyll containing partner, which is an alga. There is an organism called lichen and a chlorophyll containing partner. There is a partner which has chlorophyll in it. It is known as alga. And a fungus live together. Algae and fungus live together. The fungus provides shelter. This fungus provides shelter, water, and minerals to the alga, and in turn, the alga prepares and provides food to the fungus. This is known as symbiosis relationship. How nutrition are replenished in the soil? The nutrition are used by plants, but how do we get it next year? They should be fresh na sometime. So how do they again and again get in the soil? The thing is that they are replenished by the soil with the help of rain. Okay, many times rain, but when there are crops, farmers help them because sufficient rain is not available at that time, that in a large area large crops are growing up and they all needs nutrition. At that time rain does not help. If rain comes only a few days, and then the nutritions will be over. So farmers used to add the nutritions time to time in their fields, and or gardeners in their gardens. Okay, fertilizers and manures contain nutrients such as nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, etc. Or no, and the thing is that rhizobium, we get the rhizobium usually in the beans, like uh, there were few examples. Yes, here it is: gram, peas, moons, beans, etc. They lives in mostly in legumes type of plants, because they made they make proteins, and nitrogen is used to make protein, so they live there. Here, okay, we will read this. The bacterium called rhizobium can take atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into a usable form, but rhizobium cannot make its own food, so it often lives in the root of gram, peas, mung, beans, and other legumes and provides them with nitrogen. In return, the plants provide food and shelter to the bacteria. They thus have a symbiotic relationship. This association is of great significance for the farmers. They can reduce the use of nitrogenous fertilizer with leguminous plants are grown. Most of the pulses are obtained from leguminous plants. Most of the pulses, in Hindi we say dals, they are obtained from leguminous plants, and means there is rhizobium, and their farmers may reduce the fertilizers and sorry fertilizers and manures. In this chapter, you have learned that most of the plants are autotrophs. Only a few plants are parasitic or saprotrophic. They derive nutrition from other organisms. All animals are categorized as heterotrophs since they depend on plants and other animals too for food. Can we see that the insectivorous plants are partial heterotrophic? I told them partial heterotrophs, semi-heterotrophic I told. Now get to the main part. Now we are going to revise and not revise. I am going to tell you the main things. Here, the definition of nutrition. Carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals are the components of food. These components of food are called nutrition. This is the definition of nutrition. It is necessary. The uses of nutrition are here. The nutrition enable living organisms to build their bodies to grow from here. The nutrition enable living organisms to build their bodies to grow, to repair damaged parts of their bodies, and provide the energy to carry out life processes. These are the some points. And two modes of nutrition, autotrophic and heterotrophic. The meaning is important for your understanding. The process of photosynthesis you must know. Cells, the middle one is nucleus, outer band is cytoplasm, and the most outer boundary which covers them is cell membrane. The stomata is covered by guard cells. Stomata is used to take in the air, and here green pigment are called chlorophyll. Photosynthesis. What are the things needed in the photosynthesis? Chlorophyll, sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. The sun is ultimate source of energy. The forms which are highlighted are very important. This is the equation. This diagram will help you. Okay. So subscribe our channel to get more videos like this.